Hi and welcome everybody. Happy New Year's. This is the New Year talk of 23 going into 24. So we're going to discuss a little bit about what's been going on in 23 and how we're moving into 24. I first of all would like to say thank you. Thank you to you for being one of the subscribers to this channel, for being one of the people who will participate, and you know, we have a little group of people who come on board every Monday night for the live 7 p.m. Pacific time. So I'm very grateful both for that budding community and for everybody who's on board here, everybody who subscribes, who likes, who comments. It's very entertaining, and I love that we are a small group of people who are at least in a similar mindset about how we approach the world. And one of the things that I do here and that this channel, what the intention is to help support the spiritual awakening on our planet, to support the spiritual evolution that's going on across our world. And of course, it's been going on for thousands of years. So it's not like we are brand new at this, and it's not like we are the first wave of people who are spreading awareness, spreading consciousness. But at the moment, it could be that we are unprecedented in how many people are waking up right now. It could be that since the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, we haven't seen this kind of awareness coming in. But around the time of Jesus, there was super high awareness, especially from Jesus and the Hindu gurus and the Buddhist monks in Tibet and these areas where awareness have always been a fairly high standing movement. If you look at the Hindu gurus, the Buddhist lamas and teachers, you can see that their teachings and their understanding has for a long time been very, very deep. Their vibration has been high for a very long time. This is why when we think of Tibet, the Himalayas, we think of Nepal and the different pagodas and the different shrines. And then we think about Kashmir, which is an area of India, and we think about India having all the gurus. There is a sense inside of us where we go, oh, I feel a fairly high level of spiritual awareness, spiritual intelligence. And then we look at the shamans out of South America or the ones from North America, or we think about the Native Americans and many of their traditions, especially around spirituality and rites of passage. At least I, and I believe you as well, we feel this like, oh, there's a certain sense of awe and mystery around it. And then we can look at the mystery schools out of Europe. We can look at the witches and the warlocks out of Europe, and the druids and the shamans of the north. And we can see that they carried very deep messages, right? In a very strong way. These messages of a higher sense of awareness are all coming to fruition. And the walks that are coming through for us, the spiritual teachings that are coming through this year and this time, not just this year, but this time, is this: you have the deepest awareness inside of you. You are your own teacher. You listen to your heart. You learn how to listen to your soul, and your emotions speak to you about what's going on in your soul. When you begin to listen to that with discernment, we always have to use discernment. Discernment being this idea that you can use your higher self, your intuitive knowing, your intuition, to truly discern if a message is good for you or not so good for you. And it's not always great if we come from ego or from fear when we're making decisions about our lives. But when we come from a higher level of discernment, what truly sits right in your heart, that's where you're using your higher guidance. Yeah. So the message that's coming through from all these thousands of years of teachings, where we used to worship a lot of deities, right? We used to worship these different forms of gods, and yes, there are very high standing powers out there. And yes, we most likely were not created out of human DNA only. That most likely we have been genetically put together, spliced from the animal kingdom and with alien DNA to create us. Most likely that's the case. And of course, call it whatever you want. But personally, that's what it starts to look like to me. And it's also the experiences that I've had in all the shamanic journeys I've done, all the psychedelic journeys, going into sacred space. I've had some experiences that are truly from another world and very multidimensional. Now, as we look at the teachings that are coming through, all of them are about us growing in inner strength, in rooting and grounding ourselves, and getting to know what our soul and heart is saying. When we move into that space of really recognizing what the heart says, suddenly you realize that, oh my God, all these other teachers have been saying the same thing. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, any one of these big teachers, Eckhart Tolle, any one of the big teachers out there, they're saying the same thing. And it is for you and me to learn to listen to our hearts, to learn to listen to the higher self speaking through your body, your heart. So, this is where 2023 has been a very, very challenging year for so many of us. Personally, it was very challenging. It was very hard. It probably was close to being one of the hardest years I might have ever had. I've had some very difficult times throughout my life, so for sure, sometimes it's been much darker than this. But this was prolonged, both physical illness and ailments and pain, prolonged over months, and combined with financial hardships that was going on for months and months and months. That was a very hard passage in my life. And many of the people I sit with, when I do shamanic work with clients, many people have reported that back in April or so of this year, they developed these odd illnesses. Quite a few have come to me and said that they started hearing voices, they started feeling attacks, and they started feeling like their bodies were moving involuntarily. A lot of people have been reporting to me those kind of symptoms. And then other people have had very physical ailments going on. And when I see some of the death rates going on, we seem to have hit a pretty high death rate this year as well. So many people chose to make their exit. I was lucky that I got to stay in this physical form. But 2023 was definitely a year that pushed us further, right? So 2023 for me became a year of growth. But often in my case, when I go through growth, it has to be preceded by a lot of suffering. And then I start to see, oh, I can do this shift. I can make this shift. And that's where my discernment comes in. How can we use discernment to keep growing? So there's been some big shifts in my life. And some of them are just about perspective. Pulling back a little bit, seeing how can I approach my life differently? And here's the thought, right? If I can grow my roots stronger, spiritually speaking, energetically speaking, growing stronger in my connection with Earth Mother, you grow your inner stability stronger. How can we translate that stability into a physical way of living in our day-to-day life? How can I take actions that are helping me to be more stable in my life as well? Not just emotionally, not just spiritually, but also the other areas of my life. What can I do? We kind of can approach life from a pretty sober point of view. It's a pretty sobering idea to back away a little bit and look, oh, I can do these things, I can do those things. This is where we use discernment. So what I can see is that for many people, 2023 was difficult. And we're moving into 2024, which is going to be an upheaval of a year, right? There's going to be a lot of upheavaling going on. So the magnetic field of our planet is going into a different state. It's going to fluctuate more. And the more grounded you are, the more healthy you are in yourself, and the more stable you are, the easier it's going to be to ride these waves of magnetic fluctuations and of potential solar storms and solar flares that are coming our way. For the ones who are not that grounded, or for people who are maybe still very much stuck in the matrix, it may be a very difficult year, 2024. So my encouragement for you is to come back home and strengthen your inner muscles, your inner sense of self, your sense of belonging, your sense of interconnection to the universe. Because as that gets stronger, it becomes much easier to ride the storms. So it becomes a lot easier to go through difficult times. And they may not even look that difficult, while for others they may look very, very challenging. So what it sounds like, and when I look around, I look at these other beautiful spiritual teachers who are, making predictions energetically about 2024, and I look at what's coming through me, and I can see, we are in for a challenging year. There's going to be parts of the year that are going to be tricky, and then it's going to get a lot better. And for some of us, the trickiness has already happened. So for some of us, the trickiness happened in 2023. And if you can use the lessons from 2023 moving into 2024, you're going to ride these waves so much better. It's like a surfer that did their homework. Yeah, it gets easier to surf, to stay on top of the wave. And that same thing goes for stepping into the leadership role of our lives. So when you grow your roots into Earth Mother, you actually become a bit of a leader in your own life. It's like finding the balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and figuring out, not sitting too much in the divine anything, right? Stepping into the divine feminine means creativity, means love, means softening to your heart, means power. There's a lot of power in the divine feminine. Earth, life, power, creation, dance, expression. But we look at the divine masculine, which is holding a container of security and safety and comfort for the divine feminine. When you step into your divine masculine, even in your own life, it can mean that so I have to be responsible for myself, for my well-being, for how my life is going. How can I do that without feeling so powerless? How can I step into a role of healthy leadership in my own life? It doesn't mean complete control of everything. It doesn't mean I'm going to make everything fall in place the way I need it to because I have strong muscles. It's not like that, right? What it is how do I sit in deep discernment and on what to bring into my life, how to stabilize my life, how to make it flow smoother, how to make everything move in a more beautiful way. And this is how the divine masculine puts up a strong, beautiful framework so the divine feminine can express itself either through you, through me, or in partnership, right? But specifically, within each individual, to find our inner balance where the divine feminine gets to live and play and express and shine. The divine masculine gets to hold that space. That the divine masculine, when it holds space, it feels very good. It feels very strong, empowered, which in turn strengthens how safe the divine feminine feels. This is why these negative movements that are going on, whether there's many negative, like they're not meant to be negative, but they are coming out as negativity, where we are trying to tear down everything, right? We're tearing down masculinity. We're tearing down feelings of security. We're tearing down identification with the self. What happens is we don't have a strong container any longer. And it's not that it's wrong to shift and change, but when we're only coming from negativity, when we're saying that everything, white male patriarchy, when we call everything the white male patriarchy, we're actually kind of we're actually creating more trauma than healing it. Because now we are taking away all kind of framework. And it's not that this is a good framework. But what needs to happen is that we all step into our own power. And that doesn't mean we rob others of whatever we see them having. It means that we step into our power. And we can never do that as long as we're pointing a finger. It's your fault that I'm powerless. I already gave away my power. As long as I keep saying, you're the problem, you're the reason why I'm feeling this way, I gave away my power to you. I take back my power by saying, I'm responsible for how I'm feeling, for what's going on within me. If I need to separate, if I need to allow you to live your life and I live my life, you do you. But I can empower myself within this framework. That's what we do. And this is why it's not healthy to always be pointing fingers, right? Regardless of how true these conspiracies are, because there's very many true conspiracies out there, right? They're not theories any longer, right? But the trick is, how do you empower yourself knowing that a lot of the conspiracy, what we used to call it theories, are not really theories anymore. So 2023 was a humdinger of a year. Going into 2024, and for some people it's going to be rough. And for some of us it's going to be a little smoother because the lessons from 2023 are being incorporated. But energetically speaking, it's going to be a tough year. So the stronger you have prepared yourself, the easier it's going to get. Now, the trajectory of the spiritual awakening is that when we look at what's happening for our world, is that when we go into either questioning the narrative, so when a large amount of people question the narrative, and they go into saying, well, I don't really know if I trust the narrative that's coming through from the media. I don't really trust what I'm being told. That shakes up the status quo of the matrix. Makes the matrix not so strong in its framework. It means that the people who are starting to question are looking for new truths. They're looking for new ways of identifying themselves in the world, for new ways of connecting in the world. And anytime we start to look for a new solution, anytime we're starting to see that, oh, this didn't work for me, I need something else, I need something else. It's a way for ego to start breaking down. It's a way for us to see, oh, so my old idea of my ego didn't really work. I need something different. And why this year that's coming is going to be great for a spiritual awakening is because all this upheaval, all these times of change and shifting is really going to support a spiritual awakening for many people. And it's going to come through suffering, through pain, through hard times. But often that's the only way we actually want to change. It's the only way we're ready to look for new ways, you know? And that's why all the structures in our society are so strong still, right? Like why we're still using oil for propulsion is that the structures, basically, yeah, they're physical structures of refineries, of gas stations and cars running on oil, but they're also emotional, spiritual, mental structures of, yeah, but we have, the stocks are invested in all this. The system is geared to bring the oil from where they're pumping it up into, like with ships or trucks in the barrels to the refineries, then the refineries to the gas stations, and then money goes this way and that way and that way and that way. These structures are pretty old, and I mean old for modern times, and they're set in stone the way we look at it. And the people in control, in charge, want to stay that way. They're not realizing that they would actually be ahead of the curve if they led the evolution away from it, for example. But that's a different discussion, that's a different pattern, but it's the same idea of ego structures being stuck in our world. And sometimes the only way to shift that is through big upheavaling times. Big change comes from big pain often. And so the trajectory of the spiritual awakening is that we're going to go First, it's going to look darker. Then there's going to be a bit of an explosion of love and energy. When more people understand the depth and the importance of love, of connection, of compassion, tolerance, peace, that's what we've forgotten in our modern society. We kind of believe in the media propaganda stating that we need to go to war here or there, while in reality, it's only so that the big corporations can make more money. The war corporations can make more money, and they're all connected, right? Up top, all the big corporations are connected with each other. So the war machinery is connected to the media machinery, connected to the Wall Street people, connected to the government. And they're all in cahoots that way because they keep making more money. And we don't go to war for just reasons. We don't have these proxy wars for any righteous reasons. All the wars for the last, 50 years or so have been proxy wars, where we have an interest and we make money on the war. So therefore, we justify why we can go there. And it's very, very unfortunate because there's so much suffering that's being inflicted on the planet due to this. In 2024, the more of us who wake up, right? The more of us who can see this message, who take it into our hearts, who start to open up, the more of us who understand that peace and love is the solution, the harder it's going to get for the Matrix to keep going the way it is now. So this is why your internal awakening is very important for the world. Your internal recognition of your light is how the world is going to wake up. It's going to happen through you and everybody around you. It starts with you. And the trajectory is getting dark for a bit. Most likely sometime in the early spring, it's going to shift. We're starting maybe midsummer. It's going to start to be more of an awakening going on. But it's going to be a big year, no doubt. One of the big things for you and me is to keep working on self-worth and self-love. So when it comes to self-worth, that's recognizing who you are as a human being, the importance of your shifting in your energy vibration in your body, and how you, when you sit in a higher frequency, how much peace and love you feel in your heart. And when you look at your children and you think of them as like, oh my God, I love them so much. Or you think if anybody did anything to them, right? Well, what if you put that love towards yourself as well? Love yourself to that same degree that you love your children. Not saying we shouldn't help our children. If we need to sacrifice ourselves for our children, we can. But you got to love yourself to the same degree that you love your children. That is unconditional love. And that is recognizing the love that's in your heart. And it's the only real reason or only real healing we can truly get when we really get in touch with our hearts. And then our sacral chakra starts to feel safe. Our traumatized sacral or root chakra can begin to heal. Of course, this happens over time. And of course, we often have to do real work on it. You come to people like me, the shaman people of the world, or you come to other forms of healing. But the work needs to be done. But still, we have to find our self-love and self-worth. And they go hand in hand, right? You can't feel self-worth without self-love, and you can't feel self-love without self-worth. So, we learn how to recognize that spark of love in our hearts. We can feel it. We can feel it expanding in our body. Very important. And the other thing about our awakening this year, keep stepping out of the matrix. Keep looking for ways where you can be a sovereign being. Keep looking for ways where you can use your discernment to get stronger in your inner conviction of your life, your freedom, your sovereignty, as an individual, in physical form and in spiritual form. And in mental, emotional form as well, for that matter. But these are the steps we have to move towards. 2 more things. Sit in light, grow your roots. We start to recognize the light and love in our hearts. We start to see it and feel it in our chakra system. Root chakra, sacral chakra and up. Solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown chakra. We start to see the light exploding up through our body. We get stronger. And we start by growing our roots into Earth Mother, feeling that innate sense of root system. It's very, very powerful and beautiful. So we grow our roots, and you also do that by spending time in nature, by sitting with trees, spending time in the desert, by the ocean, in the woods, in the mountains, but outside. Turn off your phone. Walk away from regular society for a bit. Spend time out there. You're going to reprogram your energy field. It's beautiful. Sitting in light is, of course, very powerful. Here's the last suggestion for the year is to work with your community. Look around you and see if you can get a group of meditation people together. See if you can, like we sit on the beach every Sunday morning, we do shamanic circles and Kundalini yoga. Create little circles around you. Whether you live in the middle of a state, somewhere in the Midwest or in the Pacific Northwest or on the East Coast, wherever you are, South. See if you have a few people around you. Or Sweden, or Canada, or Norway, Africa, India, South America, wherever you are. Create a little community. Even if it's just one person, you might want to start with one person. But if you can find 3 or 4 that meet on the weekends or one day a week, a Tuesday night, whatever it works for you. You get together and you sit in stillness, and you can have either different people lead the meditations or you lead the meditations all the time. You look for different topics, whatever comes through your heart. You grow and they grow. We grow together. This is how we create community, right? And by consciously creating community with full intentionality, it gets a little easier to both feel more like in charge of your social sphere, and also to feel more like, oh, we can do this together. We're a group of people who can do this together. It's beautiful. We're creating community, heart-centered communities all across the world. It's very, very important for this evolutionary step to happen. Because when you sit in that deep inner space and you sit in your light, you support the quantum field. You support the ether, which is the 5th element. The ether is the element when you take everything else away. What's left is the ether. Or we can also call it, some people, then we call it quantum field on one level, or we can call it the realm of the unseen. So, create your community. It's with deep gratitude I sit here with you. I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. We shared this one more year together. And I'm very excited to see what we're going to go through this next year. And with deep gratitude to my teacher, Ambute Devi, an amazing, amazing teacher. And of course, I'd like to express gratitude to Sarah Caldy, which is the alchemist. There's many different channels on YouTube that are amazing. And many of them have a lot of good, enlightening content. But the 2 that I just mentioned are some of the ones I watch a lot. So much love to you. I wish you a happy New Year's. May this coming 2024 be a lighter, easier year than 2023. May this evolution of spiritual growth, of love going in waves across our planet, may it continue. May it erupt into love across our planet. With peace, with understanding, with compassion. Okay, so much love, everyone. Thank you. Namaste and Aho.